Man, okay. So just trying to get comfortable before I gotta go do some more stuff. It's been a busy day today. Oh man. Why is my camera kind of blurry? It's like auto focusing a lot. Anyways, how you guys doing? Just trying to catch up a little bit. Haven't done a live on my phone in about a week or two, so hope everybody's good. Um, let's see here. What do you want to talk about today? I'm genuinely curious because I could talk about dating. Let's talk about dating a little bit and how dating is crazy. So I was seeing this woman, right? A very beautiful woman. Uh, this disclaimer: I'm 40. She is 31, about to be 32 soon. She'll be 32 next month. When I met her, she was, I guess, in her words, boring, right? When I met her, all she did was she had two kids. All she did was take care of her kids, work and go home, and work. And whenever she would go out, if we go out to do stuff with her kids, it would go out to, um, parts and activities, things of that nature. She wasn't a party girl. She wasn't a drinker. She was a very wholesome woman, and I really liked that about her. I was like, okay, so she's very wholesome. I like that, and that what attracted me to her, right? But things switched up, right? I would say about 4 months in, yeah, about 4 months in, she did a switch up. And when I say she did a switch up, um, she became a party girl within a 4 month period. So she went from being wholesome to her going out every single night, it seemed like, and always being drunk. And I didn't like that. And me and her will always argue about that, right? So I'm sitting here because like me, I'm 40. I already did all the partying and stuff. I don't want to do any more partying. I'm done with that. I much rather spend my money going out, going to do stuff. So if I'm going to spend my money, I want to spend on a trip. I want to spend going out of town, out of the country. I want to spend money on that. I don't want to spend money at a local bar or club. I don't want to spend money on any BS like that. So whenever she started going out, it was when her friend came back into town, and that's just where it just kind of went downhill from there. And the funny part about it is, me and her friend used to know each other back in the day. So, but I guess people don't change with time. But anyways, she it got to the point to where she posted the video. She was on live, and she was on live blackout drunk. She was on Facebook Live blackout drunk, and I'm just looking at this because it was late. Because again, I'm not going out. I don't want to. So I see her this blackout drunk, and I'm just like, what the hell? So I tried calling her. I ended up reaching out to her friend that was there. Her friend was there. It's like, oh no, she's fine. She just had too much to drink. But I was like, well, yeah, that's not a good look. I don't like that. Like, I can't handle going out, right? I don't always gotta be with you when you go out. But I would like to think you have a certain type of class and maturity about you whenever you're going out, to where you're not blackout drunk, where anybody can take advantage of you. Let's see. Hello, hello. Hope you guys are subscribed. I'm just talking about recent dating experience, my most recent dating experience. So whenever she finally did get up and talk to me, I told her straight. I was like, you know what? I really can't do this. I can't be with a girl. Excuse me. I can't be with a woman who's going to be going out getting blackout drunk because it just doesn't make sense to me. She was like, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm gonna do it again. Blah 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 blah. I was like, okay. Now, keep in mind, we don't live in the same city. She lives 2 cities away from me. So I will go see her on weekends, or she'll see me on weekends, on occasion on weekday, but because I got to work and stuff. Excuse me. So here we go. I would say a couple weeks in, she is still going out. Johnny Cash. Okay, I guess that's a good thing. I don't know. I don't have any nephews. Yeah, I don't have any nephews. I had to think about it for a second because my brother thought he had a kid, but he doesn't. And that's not something I will discuss on a public platform because you got to think about it. Employers watch your stuff, right? So next thing I know, if I'm talking about smoking weed, my employer could be like, "Well, how come you're talking about smoking weed on live?" I ain't trying to get that. Trump and the stuff is just changing things too much to where they'll find any reason to let you go. But I'm not a stranger to it. I put it that way. I think everybody has done it in their past at least one time in their lives. But if y'all watching, like, comment, subscribe. I appreciate everybody. But yeah, so back to the story. A couple weeks in, she started going out drinking again, and I was just like, and she was getting like I would see her, and she'll just be just throwing up because she drunk so much, and I'm just like, all right, this ain't attractive. I met you while you were born. Now I can understand if I met her as a party girl and then I was trying to change her into like a wholesome woman. That wasn't the case here. I met her as a wholesome woman, and then she wanted to change herself into a party girl. And I was just like, look, you're going out too much for me. You're always getting drunk. I was like, I don't even see you spend time with your kids anymore. And that's what attracted me to you. And I was like, you just like did a full 180, so I just can't be with you anymore. And how about she did the most manipulative shit ever? She was out with some of her friends, and she got one of her friends to call my phone and tell me, "Oh yeah, she hurt herself, blah blah blah. She really wants to talk to you." And they showed a picture of her in the hospital. I don't think that was really her in the hospital at that particular moment. So I go see her and we talk. And let's see, you smoke? Yeah, I'll let my coworkers follow me on IG. See, I don't let none of my coworkers follow me either. Now I will say that my Facebook and Instagram is pretty old. So people that I didn't work with probably do work with me now. Either way, I'm not taking any chances. Either way, though, so we sit here and going. I tell her like I don't want to talk to you anymore. We can't. I can't do this anything. I can't always watch you getting drunk. I can't, you know, um, have you always going out. That's not how I met you. I met you as a wholesome woman. And then she did something supposing hurt herself. Her friend calls me, tells me she's in a hospital. I drive like a good 45 minutes to an hour to go see her. And then, we talk, we get back together for a short time. And then she told me she would change. She's not going to do this shit anymore, blah, blah, blah. And keep in mind, by this time, you're probably 5 months into our relationship. And I was like, all right, whatever. I knew it was BS, but at the time, I wasn't going to have that conversation while she was in a hospital. So I was like, all right, yeah, sure. We could go ahead and try again, get back together, whatever else. So we go ahead and do that. She stops for a minute. Then, Lord beholds again, back to partying and drinking again. And I was just like, my God, this is just too much. And again, like I said earlier, I wouldn't have cared if I met her as a party girl, and then if I was trying to change her, that would be wrong. But when you were presenting yourself as a wholesome woman, and then later on you change yourself into a party girl, maybe that's who you really was. Maybe you want to try to get a man, and you couldn't find a decent man going to the clubs or bars all the time. I don't know. But either way, though, finally just said, you know what, enough is enough. I got tired dealing with it. I got tired of seeing her drunk almost every single time we talked. I got tired of her not working on top of that because it was just like at first when we first met. I'm not gonna lie. If I'm dating somebody and we're like exclusive, I'm like, yeah, let me go ahead and pay for you to get a massage. Let me pay for you to get your nails done. I don't mind doing small stuff like that from time to time, right? Because you're my woman. I'm going to make sure you feel good and taken care of. However, though, when it comes to the point to where she was like, "Oh yeah, hey, I'm like short on my rent. Can you help me? Oh yeah, hey, I need help with this." Then I see you not working. I see you're partying all the time. Then I'm just like, okay, I'm not trying to be a sugar daddy. I'm not trying. We're not. I'm not being your sugar daddy. We are not married. You're just, the woman I'm dating at this particular moment. We're in a relationship, yes, and we're only like 5 months in at this point. You need to get your shit back together because you had together when we met. Like, you literally had yourself together when we met. So that's just, I just cut it off. I think I helped her for rent one time, and then after that, I was just like, okay, I see how this is gonna go, and yeah. But for some reason, she has trouble still trying to let me go. She makes fake profiles or her friends be trying to reach out to me. It's like the craziest thing. This is why I don't date. I'm just like, man, you meet a woman and you think she's one way, and then give it a few months, she shows her true colors. And I'm so glad that it didn't get too deep. You know what I mean? That it was at a point to where I could just go ahead and close it off and just be like, you know what? This isn't going to serve me. I'm more serving you while you're doing whatever you want. I mean, if you want to go out and party and drink all night and all this other kind of stuff, that's cool. You go ahead and do that, but you're not going to do that while you're with me, right? Especially if that's how I met you. Now, again, if I met you at a bar and club and that's just who you were at that moment, cool, I understand that. But I didn't meet you that way. So it is what it is, though. And this dating pool sucks. This dating pool is so bad that it kind of makes me wish I was still married sometimes because shit, like all the quality people, there's like phases I noticed when it comes to dating, in my opinion. I would say like between 18 and 24, or maybe 25, 18 and 25, that's where you get the best version of the woman. And the reason I say that because they don't have necessarily all the traumas and heartbreaks of like a bad relationship or a baby daddy. They're still hopeful and naive to a sense, But when you get to like 25 to 35, 9 times out of 10, people in that age bracket, they're normally baby mamas or normally baby mamas, and which is not necessarily bad in itself, but whenever you have a fresh baby mama, that's where the issue comes in. Because if a kid is like 1 or 2 years old, uh, most of the time they're still trying to figure out their situation with the other parent. They're still going back and forth in court, and sometimes they're still creeping with each other. Let's be 100% real with that. So it's just 25 to 35. It's just it's a pain. Mm. Now, when you get to 35 on up, I would say like 35 to 45. 9 times out of 10, your kids are already grown, right? So you don't necessarily have to deal with, the baby mom, baby daddy stuff, baby mama stuff. It's already figured out. The kids are old enough to either to know their position when it comes to a relationship. And it's just kind of like, and then 45 above, sometimes they're the worst because a lot of time women who are single who are 45 and above are normally divorced women. And divorced women could sometimes act worse than women who's like fresh to 18 or 19 because they want to party. Because sometimes, depending how long they're married, they feel like they forgot about something. So dating pools suck. I mean, dating pools is just like, I don't know, man. It just ain't worth it. It ain't worth it at all. Oh man, I don't know if y'all have a different opinion on that, but that's just my stance on it. However, though, like myself, I can never see myself dating a woman 18 and 25 just for the fact of the maturity aspect. I don't want to have to raise a woman. You know what I mean? And I always felt that was kind of odd whenever you see people who had like almost a 20-year age gap in relationships. Like people don't talk about it enough. Like Leonardo DiCaprio, he tends to date women a lot younger. Drake tends to date women a lot younger. And when you see that, I understand why they do, but at the exact same time, I just don't understand having to raise a woman. I don't like that mindset. Same thing with Shannon Sharp too. I mean, he got taken for millions apparently, allegedly, because he wanted to date a younger woman. You know, and it just sucks. It sucks. All the decent women are married, or they're just so fed up with men. Well, actually, they wouldn't be decent. They fed up with men. Like I met a woman one time, very beautiful, but she hated humans. I mean that in a literal sense. I was one of the few humans she actually liked. And when I say she hated humans, she pretty much kept herself inside the house. And the only reason I knew her or I know her is because we used to work together. But she is she hates people so much that she just says some off the wall crazy as shit. But she loves animals. You'll see her have cats, dogs, horses, chickens, whatever, and that'll be her lifeline. That's what she interacts with. She will save a life of a dog over a human being any day of the week. If you ask her if an animal life is more important than a human life, she's going to tell you an animal life is more important every single damn time. And it got to the point to where I was just like, okay, I understand people suck sometimes. We kind of need human interactions to not go crazy. But she just couldn't. Yeah, I'm not going to talk bad on her. I'm not going to talk bad on her because she's a nice person. But I just couldn't handle her hatred for humans and her extreme love for animals. And that's just my opinion on it anyway. What time is it? It's like, all right, because I gotta go in about an hour. I'm not even sure I'm gonna be here on for an hour. The one thing about this whole entire live streaming thing, you'll get people that come in that'll talk and bounce. They come in and out. And it's kind of cool. Like the most people I ever had when I was streaming during the daytime. Well, it was at nighttime. I think it was like 50 people in the chat. And that was pretty cool just having seen them talking, interacting. The trolls are kind of interesting to see. Um, but yeah, what other things people want to talk about? I'm just sitting here talking about random stuff. Like I said, I got some time to kill. Well, truthfully, I should be doing some more cleaning, but I don't want to do any more cleaning today. I'm tired of cleaning. I've been up doing stuff since 4 in the morning. I'm tired. If you guys already haven't, go ahead and like and subscribe. Check out some of my other videos. I do a lot of commentary videos. I think most recent commentary video I did was on the Sha'Carri Robinson situation. Sha'Carri Robinson situation. And the whole entire thing about Sha'Carri Robinson situation is it really does show the imbalance between men and women. Because with her, the way she did her boyfriend, and the way because I think I made 2 or 3 videos on this situation. On the first video on the Sha'Carri Robinson situation, I was pretty much like, okay, it was just because I saw the initial video, like the TSA security camera footage, where it looks like she just kind of pushed him. And her boyfriend probably is like 6 foot something, and she's like 5'1", and she was trying to pushing him, getting mad or whatever. And I kind of made a light of it. And I was like, you know what? People in relationships, that just happens sometimes. You have a little short woman for temper, and she tries to punk you, ain't that serious, whatever else. However, though, when I saw the actual body cam footage, that's when I was like, oh, she really was on some BS. Because how are you going to try to get your boyfriend arrested for the stuff that you were doing, being completely unaccountable, by the way, when he was not trying to throw her on the bus at all? He was trying, oh no, it's not a big deal. It's not a big situation. We're fine. He was sticking up for her and everything. But as soon as she saw that, it's not even as soon as she saw, as soon as she believed, was really said, as soon as she believed that her boyfriend was throwing her on the bus, she was like, oh, well, I got video proof of him abusing me. Oh, I got video proof of him being the antagonizer. Oh, well, blah, blah, blah. He said, Christian, really? I'm like, hold up, wait a minute now. This man was sitting here, even though you were dead wrong, trying to make sure you wasn't going to go to jail. But yet you're trying to throw him on a jail and get him press charges. And all the while, she has no consequences for these actions. And I was just like, dang. Like, I don't know how he is still with her after that. Let's say in that moment, he didn't hear her say, "Hey, I want to press charges on him too," all this other kind of stuff. After that came out, after it got made public to everybody, the body cam footage, if he was to dump her, I would 100% understand. It's one thing to get into a domestic situation. It's another thing to have people see a domestic situation and misunderstand it, and the cops get called. But it's a whole another level of BS where you're sitting here trying to get your spouse or the person that's sticking up for you arrested because of your wrongdoings because you can't be accountable. And she faced no consequences for that at all. I mean, she hasn't lost no endorsement. She hasn't lost any sponsorship. She hasn't lost anything. If nothing else, she was on the Nike website not too long ago. Like a couple days ago, she was featured on their website. So, but if it was the other way around, everybody was saying this man is toxic, he's evil, he would have been broke by now. He'll be on camera crying and apologizing. And speaking of, her apology was half-assed. I remember I did another video on her apology. She carried Robinson's apology. And I was just like, okay, at least she apologized. And I thought it was on one of those things that she did it out of nowhere from the kindness of her heart because it was everywhere that she disrespected him. I just thought, okay, she's genuinely going to apologize because she disrespected him in the public. I get that. Let's see, Miss Healer. I think she needs domestic violence classes and learn to take accountability for actions. Yes, she does. And truthfully, I'll be honest with you. When I was younger, I used to work in a Favor House. Well, I volunteer at Favor House in Pensacola, Florida. And the reason I did that was because I was a victim of DV myself, right? Against me and my ex at the time. Um, we got into it really bad. She, and the funny part about that situation, there were witnesses of her attacking me. And there were two police officers that came, one male, one woman. The male cop was like, okay, well, we need to go ahead and arrest her because my neighbor saw her try to push me down the stairs and stuff. However, though, the female cop was like, well, she looks really upset, so I want him to be arrested. So they just arrested both of us. My charges got dismissed because I had witnesses on my side. But I did go ahead and do the Favor House classes. Even though I didn't have to, I still did them anyway. And that kind of touched me in a way because I was like, okay, I want to come back and volunteer here. So it was pretty cool. But I will say this, when you come to those Favor House classes, those DV classes, a lot of those people there, they go back there multiple times. It don't always serve the function that it is supposed to because it's not always receptive to it. Yeah, it's. Thank you for saying sorry for that, but it was one of those things that I wish I never went through that because that was the first time I was ever arrested. That was the only time I was ever arrested, and it like that's what showed me what was so unfair about the system when it came against men and women. Even though there was witnesses showing that she tried to push me down the stairs when I was trying to leave. Witnesses said that she was yelling at me, all this other kind of stuff. I just because the female cop was there, it is when it took us both away, and that's fine. Like I said, my charges got dismissed. Hers didn't. She was on probation for like a year, and then like a year later, she was dating somebody else, and she kicked in his door, like literally kicked in his door and attacked him because Johnny Cash out your profile pic. I don't know what that means, but yeah, um, she kicked in his door and attacked him, and he did it, and she did it at his grandmother's house. And the only reason she didn't get charged that time because her grandparents offered to pay for everything to make sure she don't get any charges because they already knew what happened before. That's how I became a single father. Honestly, unfortunately, I had a kid with that woman, and because of stuff like that, that's how I became a single father. I raised my daughter alone, and I've done a great job raising her. At least I like to think so. 17 years later, she's an honor student. And honestly, she's probably going to be valedictorian or salutatorian, and this is her senior year, so we'll see. She's just amazing. Um, but yeah, it's one of those situations that guys men in general, we get the short end of the stick when it comes to that kind of stuff. But back to the DV classes you were talking about, that I truthfully think that DV classes should be mandatory in high school. I really do, because you got to think about it. Whenever you are, 16, 17, 18 years old, and that's when relationships start getting more serious. That's when you can start seeing like those are relationships you don't remember for the rest of your life. You don't remember that whole entire middle school girlfriend or whatever, but you do remember your high school relationship. And let's be real here. I've known of abusive relationships in high school when I was in high school, and that's when people start being sexually active is in high school. So I would like to think classes like that should be done in high school, because not everybody is taught the tools and really know how to communicate and handle a situation in a relationship. A lot of the times, what ends up happening is people ends up being in a relationship and they mimic the things they see in their own home. So if their own home was toxic, then they're going to sit here and emulate that in their relationships. Or if they're lacking something in their home, they're going to sit there and try to get there from their relationship. And when you're that young, you don't have the tools to really know how to do conflict resolution. You don't know how to tell if somebody is trying to separate you from your friends. You don't know how to tell if you're being manipulated. So I love DV classes. I just think that when they're at the adult level, when you're like in your 20s or 30s, they're less effective. But I think they'll be more impactful and effective if they were given to kids when they were in their 16, 17, 18-year old. I think that would be a great time to have those classes. Miss Heater, thank you. I hope you're subscribed, by the way, too. But yeah, and I'm not going to try to be on a soapbox the whole entire time, but they take the time to, at least they used to, when I was younger. They will take the time to show, sex education, which is fine. I was always in favor of that. You had to get permission from the parents for that when I was younger to do sex education. They taught about condoms. They taught about weird scenarios. I remember my sex education teacher taught told us about a story about a man who got trapped on. I can't even tell that story. It was so crazy. And thank you for subscribing, by the way. But it was a very useful thing. You went over the different STDs and things of that nature, consent. That's why I was just like, them trying to get away with it now, do away with those classes now doesn't make any sense to me. If we want less teen pregnancy, we should more enforce those kind of things. But I also remember when I was younger, seeing young women not value their bodies. Like I remember I was a football player. I didn't play all 4 years. I played for a little bit. And I want to say it was like around my junior year of high school. And there was this girl that I knew. And she had her crush on me for a little while there. And nothing ever came of it. I just wasn't interested in her. Because I was already talking to somebody else at that time. One night, I was at the school. I think I went to go see the girl I was talking to because there was like a summer school or after school program thing that was going on. And one of my old football friends came and he's like, Aunt, you got to come to the parking lot. And I was like, why? I can't think of her name right now. She was like, well, she's being set out in the parking lot. People are taking turns of her in the car. I was like, what? I said, no, I ain't coming to do that. That's nasty. And that's what I mean. Stuff like that, where if you're an adult doing something like that, that's fine. But when you're a kid, you're not really taught and told how to value your body. That's what I mean. Things like that gotta be addressed, and we can't add willfully ignorant of it. We can't just sit here and pretend if we don't teach it in schools that it's not going to exist. I mean, I also known a girl. There's a Christian private school around here, and I went there when I was a kid, and she stayed there all through her life. And me and her were dating. And this is after I graduated. I think I was in my early 20s when I met her. And she told me what school she went to. I said, "Oh yeah, I went there when I was younger." She was like, "Yeah, well, I got kicked out." I was like, "Really? Why did you get kicked out?" She was like, "Because I got caught having sex in the parking lot with a guy." And I was like, "Oh." Now this school was very strict. This school was so strict that it had a code of ethics. If you were seen being inappropriate outside of school by a faculty member, that could get you a demerit. That's how strict the school was. So trying to ignore trying to ignore the urges of young people doesn't work, but educating them does. I will say that me learning about STDs, me learning about pregnancy, me learning about the hardships of that stuff when I was younger, kept my thing in my pants until I graduated. I did not want to be a teen parent. I didn't want to take any chances. Once I learned that condoms are not 100%, shit. I didn't want to be a teen parent. Because you got to think about it, I came from a teen parent. My grandparent was a teen parent. There is no way in hell I was going to be a teen parent. And you know what's worse is girls got more mad at me because I didn't want to go all the way because I was too scared to be a teen parent. But I credit that to that class teaching me that though. You are Anthony. Yes, I am Anthony. But but yeah, to bring it back to what I was saying originally, I seen guys grab girls in the hallway. I seen girls hit guys in the face. So that's what I was saying. A DV class in high school, and not this time, and this showing what the different forms of abuse are. It's not always physical. It's emotional. It's controlling. It's financial at times too, and it's just multiple different things and aspects that people don't necessarily think about. Most people think of DV. Hey, if you're being hit, that's it. No, there are multiple layers of it, and I think that that's something that you should learn from a very young age what those different things are. You know what? Thinking of that story, seeing all that made me realize of a story that I'm going to tell. Well, the state that I'm in, I doubt they'll implement anything like that because the state I'm in Florida. Florida has been doing a lot of things to get rid of a lot of stuff. So I don't know. But I will say this: I've been very open in communication with my daughter when it comes to stuff like that. Um, but not every single parent is, and not every single parent is going to have those conversations with their kids. They're just going to stick to save yourself till marriage. That's not a realistic possibility. And like I'm very self aware. I remember when I was a teenager. You're not going to wait. And just because I didn't go all the way as a teenager doesn't mean I didn't do other things. So I am fully aware of the consequences of what things teenagers will do because you're going to think with the wrong body part a lot of the times. But that's why I think as us for adults, it's our responsibility to make sure they have every single bit of information they can. And I don't think that should be villainized in any type of way. But I remember I was talking to this girl and she was when I say she had a crush on me, I remember our eyes locked. Anthony, you learned how to avoid abusive relationships from the DV classes. Honestly, I did. I will say this. After those DV classes, it made me realize um, the different levels of abuse that I accepted that I didn't realize was abuse. I'll just make up excuses like, oh, well, yeah, that's just how women are. That's what a lot of men will say. That's like, hey, that's just how women are. They all act a little crazy. They all do this shit. They all want to go through your phone. They all want to throw temper tantrums. They always want to yell and throw stuff. That's what I said. That's just what women do. But once I had that awakening of, you know what, that's not right. You shouldn't be taking that. You shouldn't. Yes, you're going to get in situations. Yes, you're going to get in arguments, but you got to be able to leave during an argument. For example, if you and your spouse is arguing and this to try to break it up, one of the good things to do is just go for a walk. It's a very simple walk. or go to the gym if you're that mad about it. There's something just to break it up. Because I will say, in my adult years, whenever I got into a situation, I don't try to argue with a female. I think that's dumb. I don't like arguing with women. I don't see the point in it. But I will say that if we are together and we get into a situation, I'm just going to go walk away. I'm going to go for a walk. And if I'm that mad about it, I'm going to go to the gym. And if I'm still that mad about it, I'm going to sleep my ass on the floor. You know what I mean? It's just, life is too short to be unhappy and mad. It just doesn't make any sense. So, yeah, I do think those classes are beneficial. At least I took away something from it. Yeah, I would say that. Um, and sometimes what I realized is that I struggle with this too. That sometimes we are blind to the people that we love and care for. And just because you love somebody, you want to make excuses for them and their behaviors and even their toxic behaviors because you're like, oh, well, I knew what kind of childhood they had, or I knew how they was raised. I seen what they've been through. And at the exact same time, yes, being patient and understanding is not a bad thing. You should do that for the person you love. But, but the person should be trying to work on themselves in their situations to work through it. They should be trying to go to therapy. They should be talking to the parents that may have hurt them or abused them. They should be trying to do something to make sure that they don't pass on those toxic traits, or they don't take it from their the learned relationship they learned from their family members and pass it on to their new. Because I am all about learning from the past and doing better. Because there's two ways you get wisdom. One way you get wisdom, either going through it or listening to it. So if you've seen, your mom and dad fighting and them not compromising and things is getting out of control, and instead of you learning how to not have those same situations and you perpetuate that same thing, it sucks. It sucks. Oh, before I forget, I was going to say the story of the young woman I dated when I was in high school. So I'm just going to call her D. I ain't going to say her real name. So D, how did I met her? I met her on the bus. So me and D locked eyes on the bus. I thought she was so incredibly attractive, and apparently I caught her attention too. So we got off the bus, and then eventually somebody asked me if I was single. I didn't know who they were, and then me and D ended up talking. She actually got in front of me in this line to get on the bus, and then she sat next to me. And we started talking. Now here's the thing about D. Um, D had a bad attitude towards everybody else, but she was nice and sweet as it could be to me, right? Now, keep in mind, at the time, I thought D was very beautiful, had a great body, and she was so nice to me. What turned me off from her is how she treated everybody else. She has such a ugly attitude that it made me be like, nah, I can't be with a woman like that. And I remember she was so surprised that I would not talk to her. So she was like, okay, so it's clear that we like kind of like each other. Are we gonna date? I had to tell her straight up to her face. I was like, no, we're not gonna date because you have such a ugly personality, bad attitude. I see how you treat everybody else. I just can't do it. Now here's the thing about D. D was part of a group home, unfortunately. D had, like, this is why I say that sometimes we like people, we make excuses for the behaviors. D was in a group home because in her real home, before she got to the group home, D went through it. D was forced to sell herself by her mom. She was abused by her dad. So I understood why D had the anger issues that she did. She didn't take no crap from nobody. And she was just, so I understood it. But whenever she would get angry and explode on people, I mean, it was damn near scary. Like, again, towards me, completely sweet. Like the sweetest woman ever. But whenever it was anybody else, it was scary. And I just couldn't do it. And I was just like, and she and me rejecting her like that, made her want me more, which is kind of weird. She was like, most I never had a man turn me down before. And keep in mind, when she said men, she meant men because she was dating guys in our school, or she would date older guys too. And she was like, but you're the first one that ever told me that my attitude turned you off. And I was just like, okay. But we stayed friends. And she got into some other trouble, and she had to move from North Florida to South Florida because they just transported her. And what's really unfortunate, this is why I don't like the foster care system or any of that bullshit. Um, the guy that they let her stay with, so whoever took her in, he was using her. And I hope you know what I mean by I say he was using her. And he was forcing her to do things. And it sucked. So she went from one bad situation to an okay situation to a worse situation. And she was trying to run away because she was like, you know what? I'm just going to run away. If I come back, can I stay with you? Because at this time, I had just graduated and I was getting ready to move. And then I was like, okay, sure. I said, sure. I gave in because I was like, you know what? Nobody deserves to be used like that by a grown ass man. Well, whenever she left, she tried to come back and she got caught by the police and they sent her back to that man. And after she was sent back to that man, I never heard from her again. I don't know what happened to her, but the stuff that she was telling me he was making her do made me seem like he was setting her up to work the streets. And that always, I won't say necessarily bothered me, but I always kept her in the back of my head because some people are just dealt a worse hand than others. You can want better for yourself, but sometimes the world does always give you better. But I hope, I hope that somehow she made a better life for herself. Once she became legal. But once you had a whole entire life of being used and abused like that, and who knows? But yeah. Oh man. All right, I gotta get ready to go here shortly. I gotta go pick up my daughter here. Even though she is 17, she does not have her own car yet. So I gotta go pick her up from school. And that's why I'm saying that I'm very proud of my daughter. Even though she came about of ways that wasn't the best, she she has exceeded every single one of my expectations in life. Um, because I always tell this to people. I was like, you know what, your kids will do as good as what you expect of them. If you don't expect much for your kids, they're not going to give you much. If you expect, your kids to do great, they'll do great. When I was growing up, nobody expected me to do anything. So I didn't really do much when I was in high school. I literally just did enough just to graduate. But when it came to my daughter, I noticed how smart she was. And I was like, okay, well, you're very naturally smart. So I want to make sure that you naturally get these A's. And I said, and that's the standard. Now, if for some reason you try your best and you're not able to get an A, I can accept that. But I expect you to bring home an A every single time. I put that expectation out there and she exceeded it. Like I said, she has like a 4 point something GPA right now. I couldn't be prouder of her. We got Ivy League schools coming and emailing and all this other kind of stuff. Like I said, couldn't be prouder. High ACT and SAT scores. Couldn't be prouder. All because I made sure I set that expectation. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now the Ivy League school tuition, we gotta figure that one out. I don't know what school she's gonna go to, but whatever school she gets accepted into, I'm gonna make sure I find a way she gets in there. I don't care how we do it. But yeah. Yeah, but I said I gotta go soon earlier. I gotta get off here and I get ready to go myself. But thanks for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Hope you guys have a great day.